You find it in a museum display case in Newburyport, Massachusetts, on a Tuesday afternoon when you have nothing particular to do and nowhere particular to be. It is a piece of gold jewelry, a headpiece, tiara-like, heavy-looking, even behind glass. The designs pressed into the metal don't match anything you've seen before. Figures that are partly fish, partly human, partly something without a name in any language you've encountered. The craftsmanship is extraordinary in a way that seems wrong for a regional New England museum. The label reads, South Pacific, origin uncertain, donated 1929. You stand there longer than you meant to, longer than you can immediately explain. There is something about the piece, not beautiful exactly, not in any recognizable way, but familiar. The specific curve of a pattern along the lower edge. You take a photograph and move on. You don't think about it again until much later. By then, thinking about it won't help. At the bus station the next morning, you ask about transportation to the surrounding towns. The agent mentions Innsmouth almost as an afterthought. There's a bus, cheap, once in the morning and once in the evening. You ask what there is to see there. He looks at you for a moment before answering. Old buildings, he says. Not much else. An old man on the bench by the door says that the people in Innsmouth are different. You buy a ticket anyway. It's cheap. The locals are probably just insular. The bus pulls in 11 minutes late. It is older than any bus you've ridden recently. The body worn to bare metal at the corners. The seats, upholstered in a material that has absorbed years of something the windows couldn't keep out. The name on the placard behind the driver's seat, Joe Sargent. Joe Sargent is tall and bony, with a head that narrows sharply at the crown and widens considerably at the jaw, a specific proportion that you try to categorize and can't. He has not looked at you directly since you boarded, not once. You take your seat. There are 4 other passengers, locals returning home. None of them speak. None of them look at you directly. The bus moves out of Newburyport and goes inland. The road is not what you expected. No coastal panorama, no dramatic views of the Atlantic. The road winds through low, flat terrain and scrubland, around inlets, and through patches of dense, second-growth pine. Innsmouth appears. The smell is already here. Not clean salt. It came through the bus's inadequate window seals a full 10 minutes ago. Too many church steeples for a town this quiet. Too many roof lines that sag at angles wood shouldn't reach naturally. The dark line of Devil Reef just offshore, barely visible, running parallel to the coast like a second and worse shoreline. The bus stops at the center of town, and Joe Sargent opens the door without a word or a backward glance. The locals file off with the practiced invisibility of people who are home. You step out into Market Square. The fish market is operating. The catch laid out across the stalls is abundant. Extraordinary, in fact, for a town this size. The prices are low. Flies move over the tables in slow, patient clouds. The sellers don't make eye contact. When you stop at one stall to look and glance up, the man behind the counter has already looked away. It's just a very good fishing spot. The town was once prosperous. You can read it in the architecture. Federal-style mansions along the main streets. Georgian storefronts whose proportions were once elegant. A church on every corner. Most of it is decades past repair. Paint peeled to bare blackened wood. The cobblestones are cracked and uneven. Dark weeds in the gaps, and the gutters run with something that is not quite rainwater. You try, a few times, to start a conversation. You ask a man near the square how long he's lived here. He says, always. and turns away. You ask a woman near the post office if there's a local archive or historical society. She looks at you, eyes set slightly wide in her face, irises a grayish color, and says, "There isn't," and walks away before you've finished the sentence. That's when you first notice it. Not her, the two men standing near the fish stalls, talking to each other. When you walked past them a moment ago, they stopped. Not obviously, not in a way you could call out, but by the time you're 20 feet past them, you realize it's quiet behind you. You don't turn around. It's nothing, a coincidence, a stranger in a small town. People stop talking when someone unfamiliar walks past. This is normal. You keep walking. The Gilman House is the only hotel. The lobby smells of mildew and something beneath the mildew. The desk clerk asks for your name and your home address with the manner of someone performing a procedure. You write down your home address. The room is on the 3rd floor. The lock on the connecting door to the adjacent room doesn't function properly. The bolt moves in its housing without catching. You test it twice. It does not catch. You prop a chair under the handle and note it and decide to put it out of your mind. You are a tourist in a strange town. Everything has an ordinary explanation. Right? Wrong. You understand very little of this yet.
His name is Zadok Allen, and he is approximately 96 years old. Old enough to remember Innsmouth before the arrangements that define it were fully in place, and drunk enough, given sufficient whiskey, to describe them to a stranger who buys him a bottle and walks with him far enough from the buildings that no one can hear. You find him at the edge of the Wharf District in the late afternoon. The walk to reach him takes 20 minutes, during which you become aware that you are not simply walking through a town. On 3 separate streets, there is someone stopped near a doorway or at a corner who was not there when you turned onto that street. You tell yourself you're in an unsettling town, and your brain is pattern matching against the wrong baseline. You walk faster. Zadok speaks freely, but only with whiskey, and only at a distance from the buildings. Nothing around you but salt grass and the sound of water. He talks. He talks about Captain Obed Marsh, who spent 2 decades trading through the Pacific and who, somewhere east of the established trade routes, found an island whose inhabitants had made an arrangement with non-human entities from the sea. Unlimited fish, gold unlike anything produced by human hands. In exchange, sacrifice, twice yearly, and something more permanent. The island's people had been interbreeding with the sea things for generations. The children appeared human, the grandchildren mostly. By the 3rd and 4th generation, in middle age, the changes began to emerge. The narrowing skull, the widening jaw, the eyes that stopped blinking in the normal way. And when they were old enough, they went to the water. Not in death, in something else. Obed Marsh brought this arrangement back to Innsmouth in 1838 and presented it to the struggling fishing families as a solution. The mills were failing. The fish were failing. People were leaving or starving. The arrangement had terms. Term 1, unlimited fish. Term 2, gold unlike anything produced by human hands. Term 3, interbreeding with the ocean. By 1846, the esoteric Order of Dagon had replaced every legitimate church in town. Those who resisted disappeared in ways officially attributed to accidents. Zadok saw some of those disappearances. He does not describe them in detail. Zadok's hands, when he grabs your arm to make a point, are ice cold even in August. His skin is grainy at the pores, as though the surface is not quite smooth.
You go back to the bus stop at 5 in the afternoon. The bus is scheduled for 6. The bus does not come. You wait 40 minutes. You ask a man nearby. He looks at you from the periphery and walks away without answering. The street empties. The light drops. This is a different kind of fear than anything you've felt since arriving. Not the "something is wrong with this place" fear. You've had that since the bus pulled in. This is "something is wrong with this place and I am inside it and cannot leave" fear. You return to the Gilman house. The desk clerk says, without looking up, that the next bus is in the morning. His voice has the quality of a statement that has been prepared in advance. You go to your room. You push the chair back under the connecting door handle. You sit on the bed and listen to the town go quiet. Around 10 at night, you hear the voice, low, from the other side of the connecting door, a murmur, conversational. You sit very still and listen and try to determine if it is a language. Another voice joins it, lower, and a third beneath that, barely more than a sustained sound under the conversation. The hotel register had 2 names, yours, and one crossed out 3 days ago. No one else has checked in since you arrived. The adjacent room is empty. You know it is empty because there is no other explanation that applies to what you have seen. You tell yourself, a radio. Old buildings carry sound in unexpected ways. A guest who arrived while you were out. This is a hotel. Hotels have guests. The voices continue for 20 minutes. Then they stop. The silence that follows is the specific silence of something that has gone quiet because it has heard you go quiet. Then the sounds change. From the corridor, a shuffling, low and dragging, wet at the edges of it, slow, without urgency, as though whatever is moving has all the time available to it. The smell in the room has changed. Something has been added beneath the mildew, like the inside of an aquarium that has not been cleaned in months. It is not coming through the window, it is coming from the other side of the chair. Then the door handle turns, slowly, completely, with the deliberate patience of something that is not trying to force anything. The bolt, broken as it is, catches for a moment, the mechanism engaging against the housing, resistance without locking. The handle holds at its lowest point, 1 second, 2, it releases, silence. Then it turns again. You do not move. You do not breathe louder than you must. You watch the handle from across the room and understand that whatever is on the other side is not trying to break anything. It is checking. It is being methodical. You look through the gap in the curtains at the street below. There are figures in the street, 5, 6, more, further back in the shadows where the lamps don't reach. None of them are moving. They stand facing the building, heads tilted at the angle that means they are looking upward, at this window, at the point where your face is. One of them is directly below you, stopped in the middle of the street. As you look at it, you understand, slowly, that it has been looking at you for considerably longer than you have been looking at it. By 2 in the morning, the sounds from the direction of the waterfront have intensified, a collective croaking, rhythmic, and gathering. Hundreds of individual things moving in the dark together. The door handle has turned 3 more times. The figures in the street have not moved. The one directly below has not moved. At 3 in the morning, you push the connecting door from your side, the broken bolt finally giving enough when you apply sustained pressure, and move through the adjacent room, through the back corridor, out a window onto the roof of the building behind the hotel, down through the dark. The town is not empty. This is the first thing you understand when your feet hit the ground. The shapes in the street are still there,
You move in the opposite direction, keeping to the walls, staying low, and you do not run. Running is noise. Something hears you anyway. Not loudly. That is what makes it worse. Somewhere behind and to your left, in the alley you passed 30 seconds ago. You press against a building and wait. The sound stops. Stays stopped for a full minute. You keep moving. From the next street, a shape that crosses the intersection ahead of you. Low, forward-pitched, not moving like a person moves. It does not slow. It continues around the corner and is gone. You change direction. You move through the back streets, cutting away from the waterfront, tracking toward the edge of town by instinct and by the memory of streets you mapped in the daylight. You find the rail lines by smell, old rust and creosote, and you follow them out of town through the tall salt grass on the embankment, staying below the road level, moving until the sounds behind you fall below audible. You lie in the grass beyond the town's edge and watch the shapes moving off Devil Reef as the light grows. Shapes too large to be seals, returning to the water as the light grows. You have escaped. This is genuinely remarkable. You will not understand until weeks later, when the distance gives you space to reconstruct the night, that at least 2 of the things that came to your door at the Gilman house were not hybrid humans in the slow middle of their transformation. They were deep ones, entities that live miles below the surface, that breathe salt water, that had not walked on land in years, who came up from the water specifically because the desk clerk's register told the Order of Dagon that a stranger had arrived, had asked questions all day, and had written down a home address. It knows where you live. In the weeks after your escape, the dreams begin. Vast underwater spaces, tiered stone architecture no human culture produced, corridors and archways in configurations that should not be navigable, and that you navigate easily, without hesitation, as though you have always known the way. You've never been there, and you know your way around. Congratulations! The problem was never Innsmouth. The problem was what was already in the blood.
Your grandmother, on your mother's side, was a woman named Eliza Orne. Orphaned early, parentage not well documented. Your grandmother had eyes with a particular quality, wide set, slower to blink than seemed normal. You thought of it as a family trait, the way a nose shape is a family trait. Your Uncle Douglas had it more strongly. He researched the family history extensively in his 40s and then stopped. He died at 52. You never thought much about that until the weeks after Innsmouth, when you started thinking about almost nothing else. In the wooden box of jewelry your grandmother left behind, kept in your family your entire life, an object you never questioned any more than you would question a piece of furniture, there is a piece you have always found beautiful without being able to say why. Heavy gold, designs that suggest the sea, a fineness of craftsmanship that has never matched anything else you've seen. You saw one exactly like it in a museum display case in Newburyport, Massachusetts. The Innsmouth look, the physical characteristics you noticed in the town's residents, the things you couldn't quite name, the quality of the eyes and the jaw and the skin at the neck. It is already visible in you if you examine your face in the right light. Not prominently, not yet, but the transformation is not an infection. It is a genetic clock. It was wound before you were born. The dreams do not feel like nightmares. That is the thing you cannot tell anyone. Inside them, the underwater spaces are quiet and still in a way that nothing above the surface has felt in a very long time. You have a cousin. He has started having them too. You're thinking about bringing him with you when you go. You didn't stumble into Innsmouth. You were always going there. The town smelled like home before you knew what home meant.